Well, hello. Hello, dear friend. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about why talking it out, it just isn't working. Because this is where so many beautiful, well-meaning wives get stuck. Yeah, you've probably, dear friend, you've probably been told something like, just communicate more or, have another conversation or, explain how you feel again. Just go back to him and explain how you feel, but say it more gently. Mhm. So this is what you do. So you try, right? You rehearse, you choose your words carefully, you stay calm, and you give him the benefit of the doubt. And yet somehow, some way, some way, the conversation still goes sideways. It goes sideways. It goes off the rails, right? You know, I'm kind of, adding a little sense of humor to this, but instead of feeling closer, you feel more confused. Instead of feeling understood, you feel dismissed, and instead of feeling relief, you feel emotionally hung over. Yeah. And, really what makes this especially painful, this topic, um, is that you're not trying to start a fight with your guy, right? No, you're not trying to start a fight with him. You're simply trying to connect. That's all. That's all. Well, really quick, my name is Olivia Hall, and I am so glad you're here, dear friend. I'm so glad you're here. I am with you on this neurodiverse journey, and my whole goal in my heart is to help you feel seen, heard, understood, and validated. So I'm with you. Glad you're here. Let's keep going. So, why talking? Let's talk about why talking it out, why it breaks down. Let's talk about that. Well, here's the part no one explains clearly enough. Um, in many marriages, many neurodiverse marriages, where the wife is NT and the husband is ASD, one, which means neurotypical, and he's on the autism spectrum, um, conversation is happening without any shared meaning. Okay. So, what I mean by that, you as the wife, you use words to reach for emotional safety. You use words to reach for reassurance, um, or connection. And he often hears words as data. Yeah. Or he hears words as criticism, mhm, or problem solving input. That's how he hears words. And so, while you think that, you two are having the same conversation, you're actually having two completely different experiences. Two completely different experiences. This is, why you can actually walk away from your conversation with your hubby and you pat yourself on the back thinking, I really explained that to him clearly. I did a great job. I did a great job. And he will walk away from the same conversation thinking, you know what? I don't even know what she just said, let alone what she wants from me, right? That can definitely happen, right? Well, you know, Um, there's a cost. There is a hidden cost to over communicating. And over time, something subtle but damaging starts to happen. This is what you do. And maybe you're going to shake your head, okay, after you hear these. So you begin monitoring yourself, you soften your tone, you start to edit your feelings. And this thought kind of runs through your head. You ask yourself, am I being too much? Am I being too dramatic? Am I a drama queen? Am I being extra? Right? You start to question yourself. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop trusting your own emotional signals. Mhm. Yeah, you do. And that's not growth. That's not. That's survival, dear friend. Yeah, that's survival. Well, I want you to notice, I want you to notice something important here. Um, if you're constantly trying to translate yourself, if you're constantly trying harder to be understood be heard, than to be heard, if that's what you're constantly doing, if you're walking on eggshells while still being told you're too emotional or you're too dramatic or you're too sensitive, that does not mean, dear friend, that doesn't mean you lack communication skills. Mm-mm. No. Um, it means the structure that you're trying to communicate inside of, that structure, it's unstable. Yeah, it's unstable. And that's where we are. So let's talk about why patience alone makes you more exhausted. Patience without clarity quietly turns into self abandonment, dear friend. Patience without clarity quietly turns into you losing yourself. Mhm. I mean, you wait, you tolerate, and here it is. You hope things will click someday. You really hope that this will happen, right? But inside, but inside your nervous system, it never really rests. And that's why, dear friend, you feel tired in ways that sleep just does not and will not fix. That's why. Um, let's talk about what actually helps. What is it that actually helps, right? So here's what actually begins to change things. And this is important. This is important, not more talking, uh, not more explaining, not more emotional labor, right? This is what actually helps. Clarity. Clarity, getting clear about what's yours to carry, getting clear about what isn't, right? And getting clear where your responsibility truly, truly ends. Okay. That's what actually helps. Just getting clear. So here's something that most women never get taught. We don't get taught this, right? So here it is. When clarity starts to form, when you start to get clear, something powerful happens. Yeah. Um, you stop trying to convince him. You stop trying to over explain everything and you stop chasing emotional resolution through words. You stop chasing emotional resolution through your words, through your conversations. You stop it. And instead, this is what you do. You begin to respond from steadiness. I love that. You begin to respond from steadiness. Okay? And that's you getting clear, and that's you, dear friend, getting grounded. Okay? Well, calm doesn't come from the right sentence. Okay. So, and I do, if you've been watching my videos, and thank you, all of you loyal subscribers out there, and those of you who come back and watch my videos, I appreciate you. I love you dearly. And I do talk about scripts and using scripts and sometimes being clear. But calm doesn't come from the right sentence, it comes from the inside, the internal structure. Okay. Um, it comes from internal structure and that structure inside your nervous system, the structure around your expectations, and structure in access how much access someone has to your emotional energy. Okay. That's where calm comes from. Okay. Your nervous system has something to do with it, your expectations, and how much you allow people to access your emotional energy. And that certainly includes your husband, right? And once that structure exists, conversations naturally change. Your conversation with your husband will naturally change once you start to work on the inside, build that structure, right? Um, and conversations will naturally change. And this is usually the moment when women say, "Okay, that's wonderful, Olivia. I hear what you're teaching. Okay, that's great. But how do I do that? How do I even do what you're talking about?" Dear friend, I want to pause here for just a moment because if this video is putting words to what you've been feeling for a long, long time, then you don't have to figure this out. You don't have to figure out the next steps on your own, because I have created a free masterclass called the Clarity and Calm Method Masterclass. Why you're exhausted in your marriage and why patience is not fixing it. In the masterclass, I walk you through why exhaustion happens in marriages like yours, and how to begin creating clarity and calm without forcing more conversation, without blaming yourself, and without trying to change him. If you're ready to understand what's really going on and what actually helps you, then you can find the link to the masterclass right below in the description, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. And if now isn't the right time, that's okay. Stay with me, because what we're talking about next, it's still really important. Dear friend, if you are exhausted, confused, or quietly grieving the marriage that you thought you'd have, that doesn't mean you're weak. Um, it means, you've been trying to survive all of this time without clarity. And, once clarity begins to form, once you get clear, something really important, it happens to you. Something really important shifts in you. Here it is. You finally stop blaming yourself, dear friend. You stop blaming yourself for what's going on in your marriage. You stop blaming yourself, and that's a good thing. Well, you know, I want to tell you this, dear friend. You are not too sensitive. You are not too emotional. You are not too dramatic. You are not too over the top. You are not too extra. Okay? You're not asking for too much. You're not. And you're not failing because it feels hard. And this is hard. Being in this marriage is challenging. It's hard. But there is a way, dear friend, to move forward with calm, with more steadiness and more self-trust. Okay. You know, and even if nothing changes overnight, which here's the secret, it won't change overnight. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. And here it is, whether you take the next steps with me, or simply, sit with what you've learned today. I hope, I hope, dear friend, you leave this video with knowing this. You are not alone. You are not. And you don't have to try to carry this confusion anymore. You don't. Before we end today, I want to slow us down for just a moment. If you've been uh, if you've been holding your marriage together, um, with patience, with hope, with emotional effort for years, for years, for years and years and years, I want you to please hear me clearly. I want you to hear me clearly. You, let me put it like this. Your exhaustion, it makes sense. Mhm. Have you ever heard that before? Your exhaustion, dear, dear sister, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense to me. And if you've never heard that, I want that to sink in. I want you to feel understood. I want you to feel seen, supported, and validated. Your exhaustion makes sense. And you didn't fail because you couldn't communicate well enough. You are tired because you were trying to create safety without clarity. And nobody can do that forever. No one can do that forever, right? And clarity doesn't mean everything, once you get clear, everything suddenly is easy. No, no. It means you're no longer lost inside your marriage. That's what it means. It means you're no longer lost, inside your marriage. And when you're no longer lost, dear, dear, dear sweet sister, you can choose your next steps from self-trust, not desperation, when you get clear. Yeah. So, dear friend, whether you join me in the masterclass or simply let this truth settle in tonight, I hope you walk away knowing this. I hope you walk away really, truly knowing this, that you are not broken. You are not too much. You are not too emotional, too sensitive, too over the top. No. And you are not alone in this. Well, before you leave today, please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe if this video has resonated with you. Please like and share this with another beautiful soul. And don't forget to check out my next coming video. It's going to be a good one. So until then, I'll see you, dear friend, in the next video.